Hey y'all, what's going on? This is Jackie Maria J. Marie Booklet. So today I am making a video. This video is for Keela Amir, and she commented on one of my videos. She asked, can you please make a video on your interview experience and what kind of questions you were asked where you were hired? I'm really trying to get hired as a unit secretary and it would be very helpful. So I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I do not remember all the questions that were asked and how I answered them. I'm being honest because the first time was in like 2005, and then the second time was in 2012, and then the third time had to be like 2014 because that's when I went over to the ICU. So those were the times that I was interviewed, for a hospital to work at a hospital. I can give you my experience, what the experience was like and everything. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do for you in the next video. So let me just go ahead and give you my experience. So in 2005, when I got a job, my first job ever in a hospital, I already had medical um, well, let me back up. So I used to live here in Florida, and then I moved to another state. And when I lived here in Florida, I worked for a temp agency, and I did workman's comp claims. So I did workman's comp for the Department of Labor. And so then I already had medical terminology because they taught us that. Well, right? Yeah, they taught us that. So I had some of that experience. I could have went on and got my billings, learn how to become a biller, like a medical biller, but I chose not to. And I regret that. I've always regretted that because I should have got that, learn how to do that as well. So I already had my foot in the door for medical, for like in the medical field. I already had that experience. So when I moved to the state that I had moved to, I had a choice. I had two interviews. I had one interview with a real estate company, and I had another, like, to be a secretary, and then I had another interview with the hospital. So I chose to go with the hospital, which was a good thing because that was in 2005. We know what happened in 2008 with real estate, so that was a good thing. So I chose to go with the hospital. So when I went to the interview at the hospital, I went. They made me take a typing test. And then I went in and had the interview, and they just asked, questions. And like I said, the only experience I really had was that job, doing a workman's comp claim, because that literally was the only, I mean, the experience that I had up to that was like working at dry cleaners, working at um, convenience stores, things like that. I had no real experience. That's why I say sometimes, because the way I got that job was through a temp agency, because I was just done with the foolishness. I was done with struggling, and don't get me wrong now, the pay was better, but I was still down there. You know what I'm saying? It's more than you make it working at dry cleaners, and so sometimes the temp agency might be your best bet because you'll get experience. If you have just a little bit of experience, if you have a little bit of know-how on some things, that can open the door to a lot more. So that's why I never talk bad about temp agencies, because they can always get your foot in the door. Okay. So that's the only experience that I had other than like working at a convenience store, working at dry cleaners, whatever. Because I was in college. Okay, I was young. I was in college, and so they interviewed me. They asked me questions. Like I said, I don't remember the questions. I remember the interview. I don't remember those questions. I remember the typing test. I don't remember the questions. I remember her telling me how much I was gonna get paid. And keep it all the way 100. I made more at the temp agency in a whole nother state. But see, from Florida to that state I moved to is a whole different world. Okay. So, but I took it, And then of course they put us through like the medical terminology course, and I talked about that in one of the videos, how they had us go through a whole month in training medical terminology. I even showed my certificate. If you look on my blog, go back a ways, maybe like, what month is this? Maybe like November, maybe December. You'll see where I got the certificate, because they were not playing, but because they wanted you to know, so they wanted you to know their way. And I was there, I was there for a short time, and then I left there, and because of that experience, now I can go get a job, medical billing, workman's comp, all this stuff. Because actually, I left when I left the hospital, I went and got a job doing workman's comp at this company in that city. So now I had a whole different resume. Do you understand? My resume was different. So that resume was different than the resume I had before. The resume I had before had dry cleaners and convenience stores and gas stations and all that on there. This resume is hospital, workman's comp claim, medical terminology, medical billing, because I knew some ICD codes and things like that. But like I said, I didn't finish. I chose not to go through that class, but I knew a little something, but I ain't know a lot. So, I had a whole different resume. And that's why I always say, separate. If you have a little bit of professional, the word, compared to like convenience store, if you can split that resume, you split it. So yeah, that's why I tell my sister. She finally listened to me. I was like, because hers is interwoven. She finally listened to me and got a job. So like, you gotta split it up. You gotta have professional and then like a separate one. So then, I worked at companies doing workman's comp claims, doing all kinds of stuff. But anyway, but mainly, in the background, like the third party, companies that like you bill. So like the workman's comp company, they handled the workman's comp claims for like people who went to the clinic for the hospital I worked at, because the hospital had like outpatient clinics. So, and they did that for the whole country. And but that was, it started looking rough in 2008 when the recession hit. I remember 2008. Okay, it was rough. So when I came here to Florida, when I came here to Florida, um, I went into HR because I applied, and they called me like right away. They called as soon as I put that application in. They called me like the next day, and so I had to schedule the appointment for a week out because I wasn't there. Is that right? Yeah, I wasn't there, and I was still in another town. I was living somewhere else. I was back in Florida, but I was living in another town. I was in Central Florida, like up by Orlando, and this job was in South Florida. Okay, and y'all, when I tell you, I tried so hard to get a job up in the Orlando area at a hospital, and they would not hire me. So when y'all say it's hard to get a job, like, I want y'all to understand it. I know, because it was hard for me to get a job. I could not get a job up there in Orlando. But then soon as I put in the resume for South Florida, because I was moving down there, they called me right away. So I don't know. The medical field is weird. Hospitals are weird. I mean, that's all I can say, because they are. Like, I could not get a job. I had jobs, doing like the back stuff, like, it's still in the medical field, but like with third parties. And when I say third parties, I'm not talking about tip agencies. I'm talking about like, so I did like mail order pharmacy. So, you can, people get their prescriptions in the mail. So I worked for that company, you know what I'm saying? Like, doing the claims and processing and all that good stuff. But I could not get a job in the hospital up in the Orlando area. So then when I moved to South, when I put in that application, I swear to God, the next day they called me, and I had to make the interview for a week out so I can get down there because I was still up in Orlando. So when I went in, I took a test, and it was like a computer test because I remember I had to sit there and wait. And so then they put me on the computer, and everything's like right there in the open. And they put me on the computer, and the computer, it was like 20 questions, and they asked, if you were, let's say a nurse asked you to go get her lunch, but then another nurse asked you to take the blood to the lab, what would you do first? So the first thing you would do is you would take the blood to the take the blood to the lab, and then go get the second nurse's food. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to go get the nurse's food and you walk around with blood, you know what I'm saying? Or you walk around with stool sample. That's nasty. Okay, so it's asking questions like that. If a patient, if you walk in the room, you have to tell the patient something, and there are people in the room. What do you tell the people something? Do you tell it in front of the people, or like how would you respond? Things like that. So it was like 20 questions, and I had to answer that. Now I don't remember my score, but I do remember taking that. And then of course, they I went and interviewed with the HR, and they asked questions. They looked at my application, my resume, asking me questions, their usual foolishness. I don't remember the questions. I'm being honest with you. So then, but apparently I did good because, I got the interview with the director of the unit, and I remember we went into his office. His office was way in the back. And, I don't think I ever went in his, well, I think I might have went in his office one time after that, but he wasn't the director anymore. That lady was. And, yeah, well, I just thought about that. I think I literally, because I got tired of going. I got tired of going in there with on their mind. Okay, like lady, I'm getting tired of coming in your office. Okay, but yeah, cause yep, that was cause then she moved it to the other place. I was like, wait a minute, her office was somewhere else. Yeah, she did have that office, but then she moved it cause I got tired of that office. That's why I never went in there anymore, cause she moved it. But I stayed getting caught up in there. But anyway, so this is when I worked on the main floor. So when he interviewed me, he asked me questions, blah, blah, blah. And then he asked me a question that was, what is it called when, how did he frame it? What is it called what is it called when you assume, or maybe he asked me, what is universal precaution? It was something like that. But basically, what it is universal precaution means you got to assume that everyone has something. And when I mean something, means something. So that means you take precaution against them. So you assume that someone didn't wash their hands. So that means you wash your hands. Do you understand? So you don't pass it on. You assume that someone, did whatever. So you got to take precaution. It's called universal precaution, standard precaution, things like that. So I didn't know that. See, that's the only thing I remember from that whole conversation, because I didn't know that. I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. But but he explained it to me. I was like, oh, okay. I said, yeah, that makes sense. And so I always remember that, because that was an unusual question. Because I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what that is. But you just, always assume that everyone has something, or everyone didn't take precaution, so you take precaution. And so then of course I got hired, and then he left, and then the lady came in, and then fast forward some years, and I was tired of them because I was tired of getting called in her office. And I think she was tired of me getting called. I think she was tired of me too. So I had came in on my day off because I work a lot of overtime, and I got floated to, because it wasn't my day to work. So I told that nursing supervisor, I said, if you need a secretary anywhere, just let me know. You can call me, and I'll come in and work. And so of course they did, and they sent me over to the ICU, and I sit there and I work like I always work, because that's what I do. No matter what floor I go to, I work like how I work, even though it's not my floor. I worked the same way. And so they were so impressed with me because I had went down. My mom had came up there to bring me something. I forgot what she came up there to bring me. And I said, I'll be right back. I'm going to run down these stairs and get something. I'll be right back. And I literally went down the stairs and came right back. And they was like, oh my God. They was like, you're the only person that say that has been over here and said that they'll be right back and you came right back. I'm like, well, what does that mean? Because, you know, I was like, that's kind of weird. So of course they really like me now because not only was I over there working like I always work, okay, even though I don't know their unit, they ain't never seen me before, I ain't never seen them, I'm over there representing. I said I will be right back, and I actually came right back. They couldn't believe it. So they were like, what floor you work on? And I was like, oh, I work over there. And they was like, oh, you should come work over here. We like you. And so I already knew that they had an opening. I already knew that, okay? Because I'm 20 steps ahead of everybody. So I already knew they had a position. So when they said that, I was like, oh, I played it off. Do you not understand that I went home and filled out that application? Child, please, I applied for that position. Friday, they called me because it was my Friday, right? Yeah. So I worked it that Thursday. I applied Friday. They called me Monday. They called me Monday, and like HR called me Monday, and they were like, "Well, why do you want to transfer?" And I was like, "Oh, I just need a change of scenery, because you got to keep it cute, you know what I'm saying?" And then I had the interview Tuesday. Don't play with me. And that Wednesday, I was giving my notice. Okay, I was not playing. So that Tuesday, so literally, I floated over there that Thursday. I applied that Friday. I got a call that Monday. I interviewed that Tuesday. I was giving my notice. I'm out of here because I'm done with y'all. Okay. And so when I did the interview, now mind you, this is like 2.5 years later from when I did the first one. I went, they had me come down, and I had to sit at the computers and I had to answer the same questions. If the nurse asked you to take stool, lab, whatever, stool sample down to the lab, and another nurse asked you to go pick up her lunch, which one will you do first? Do you not understand? I got all those answers right. I got a 100 on that. So when I went in there, the HR lady was like, "Oh my God, you got a 100 on it." That's why I remember what I got, because see, I don't remember what I got the first time. I don't know how many I got right, got wrong. I got a 100. She's like, "Oh my God, you got a 100." I'm like, "Of course. Who you think you talking to?" Okay, because these are all questions like for secretaries. Okay, because I be in here working, representing. And so, of course, now this time is different because when I interviewed the first time, they didn't know me. I was just somebody off the street. I'm just somebody that said I can do a good job. I said I'm the person you're looking for. I told you what my strength, what my weakness were. This time they already know because I've been there 2.5 years. They know my attendance. You know what I'm saying? They know how much money I make. They know my raises, how much I got in raise. They know what my evaluations say. They know if I've been written up and all that stuff. And then of course they knew because you can't transfer to another unit if you've been written up in the last 6 months. And I had, that one write up I had got that one time that I was so mad. That made me mad. That one write up, that one that had been, more than 6 months. I think that was like a year, almost two. So they weren't even looking at that. So, they know who I am now. Do you understand? They didn't know who I was the first time. I just came in there off the street. All they had to go off of was my resume, my application. That's all they had to go off of. This time they can go off of what, all that stuff I just named, and plus me in front of them and things like that. And then of course, y'all already know I had that job before I even interviewed, because when I interviewed with the director, the lady over there, it was, I think, matter of fact, I think we sat down in the lobby. Like, I already had that job. Don't even play with it. We were down in the lobby where like everybody come in, they see you sitting with, you know what I'm saying? Because like the directors, they would they would do that. Sometimes they would sit in the lobby with people, like in interviewing, sometimes they'll go to another spot. It just all depended. Like the first director, he took me to his office, but the second lady, she didn't. She just met me down in the lobby. I already had that job. I had that job when I came over there that Thursday and floated and worked. So, it was what it was. They, I mean, the fact that they called me so fast, they was like, we gotta get this position filled. We gotta get a sucker over there. Oh, like, but I actually handled her, because the lady that I did the video about the lady that the not the last video, the video before that, with the lady who stabbed her husband. I said, I know that lady. She's the one that said to me, how did you last over there so long? Because like nobody liked working over there. And like, cause she used to float over there, and she like, nobody like working over there. The nurses are divas and this and that. But they ain't bother me. They like me. Okay, so they like me from the time I came over there. They were so happy when I came over there. They liked me. They really did. But you just gotta know how to handle people. You gotta know when to roll your eyes at folks. But see, I'm a worker, and that's what they like. Cause they workers too, they keep up drama. They workers too. They real good workers. I would never say that they lazy. Never. That you would never hear me ever say those nurses over there were lazy, cause they weren't. So I think that's why we got along. I was a worker. They were workers. Now they was messy. I wasn't messy. I'm not that type of person. But I like to gossip. I like. Let me rephrase it. I like to listen to the gossip. I like to know what's going on. But I ain't messy like that. And how they are. But yeah, that was my experience. The interview questions, I don't remember. I don't remember. I'm being honest. I just remember vaguely, because they all ask the same questions. And so what I'm gonna do for you is I'm going to get some questions that they like to ask in interviews, and I'm gonna answer them the way and I'm gonna tell you how I would answer them. Because sometimes your personality is too, because you really don't know what they're looking for, so you got to know how to be neutral. You know what I'm saying? So like, you applying for the, you just got to be neutral. You got to know how to, you got to know how to answer the questions that they're looking for. And I think that's what you're wanting to know. How would you answer? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a list of like all these questions, good questions, bad questions, questions I don't even understand why they ask these questions. I'm gonna get all those questions, and I'm gonna answer them. I'm gonna show you how I would answer them and how I have answered them. A lot of these I've answered. I get tired of answering the same ones because it don't make no sense. What's your weakness? What time, when did you feel the most whatever, like, when you had a problem, how did you handle it? I do my chain of command. Okay, that's how I handle it. We what, you want me in here fighting? Like, what you asking? I use my chain of command. That's always my answer, because that's the right answer. Use your chain of command. Don't be in there fighting. Don't be rolling your eyes. Don't be doing all that. Use your chain of command. That's what they want to hear. Okay, how did you handle it? You don't want me to handle it. Let me tell you this. You don't want me to handle it. So I'm gonna use my chain of command, okay? But yeah. So what I'm gonna do, like I said, is I'm gonna get all these questions that they ask in these interviews, and I'm gonna answer them. I'm gonna show you how I answer them. Okay? So just keep a lookout for that video, and if you have any questions or comments, you can put them below. You can also follow me on my blog. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.